In 1986, a man made 45 different versions of the exact same spaghetti sauce. Not 2, not 10, 45, each one slightly different, more garlic, less salt, bigger chunks. Then he did something strange. He never tasted a single one. He wasn't a chef. He didn't care how the sauce tasted to him. He cared how it tasted to you. His name was Howard Moskowitz. He had a doctorate from Harvard, a scientist of desire. He wasn't hired to make food taste good. He was hired to solve an equation. An equation hidden inside your brain, and the answer is sitting in your kitchen right now. To understand what Moskowitz found, you first have to understand hunger. For 300,000 years, sugar was almost impossible to find. A ripe berry, wild honey guarded by bees. That was it. Fat was rare too. It meant a successful hunt. It meant survival. So evolution wired your brain with one simple rule. When you find sugar or fat, eat all of it immediately, because tomorrow it will probably be gone. For almost all of human history, that rule kept you alive. But Moskowitz understood something the rest of us missed. That ancient rule never expected what came next. It never expected a factory. Moskowitz spent his career hunting one specific number. He called it the bliss point, the exact amount of sugar, salt, and fat that makes a food as pleasurable as humanly possible. Too little, and your brain stays bored. Too much, and it turns sickening. But hit the bliss point precisely, and your brain lights up like a slot machine. Moskowitz didn't guess this number. He calculated it. That's why he made 45 sauces, each one a data point, a coordinate on a map leading to the one recipe you cannot resist. And when he found it for Prego, it made the company hundreds of millions of dollars. He discovered Americans secretly craved extra chunky sauce, a product that didn't even exist yet. He didn't ask people what they wanted. He found what they could never say no to. Now here's where it stops being about sauce. When you eat at the bliss point, something fires inside you. Your brain releases a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical. That's a myth. Dopamine is the wanting chemical. The voice that says, more, again, don't stop. It's the same system that drives gambling, the same circuitry involved in addiction. Engineered food doesn't just taste good. It trains your brain to crave it before you're even hungry. But the bliss point was only the beginning. Because there was a second problem to solve. Normally, when you eat, your body says, enough, stop. It's called satiety. And to the industry, it's the enemy. If you feel full, you stop buying. You stop eating. So food scientists found a way to switch it off. A scientist named Stephen Witherly studied this for years. He pointed to one product as a masterpiece of engineering, a Cheeto. He called it one of the most perfectly constructed foods on Earth. Here's the trick. It melts the instant it touches your saliva. It's called vanishing caloric density. When food disappears that fast, your brain gets confused. It thinks there are no calories here at all. So it never sends the signal to stop. You finish the entire bag and still feel empty. That is not an accident. That is the design. For a long time, this all sounded like a conspiracy theory. Then a journalist named Michael Moss proved it. Moss spent years inside the food industry. He read the internal documents. He interviewed the executives. In 2013, he published a book, Salt, Sugar, Fat. Moss had already won a Pulitzer Prize for his reporting. And what he uncovered was worse than anyone imagined. These companies had entire teams of scientists, chemists, neuroscientists, mathematicians like Moskowitz. Their job was not to feed you. Their job was to maximize what they called crave. They tuned the crunch of a chip to a precise decibel. They designed the exact sound a soda makes when poured. They tuned mouthfeel, aroma, and aftertaste like instruments. Every part of the experience was optimized for one goal, that you would never feel finished, and they knew exactly what it was doing to you. Which brings us to the night they admitted it to each other. April 8th, 1999, Minneapolis, a private meeting, no press, no cameras. The CEOs of America's biggest food companies gathered in one room. Nestle, Kraft, General Mills, Pillsbury. Together, they controlled most of what America ate. A man named Michael Mudd stood up to speak. He was an executive at Kraft, one of their own. He put a single slide on the screen. It showed the rising line of American obesity. And he told the room the truth, that their products were hurting people, that they had a responsibility to change course. For a moment, the most powerful men in food sat in silence. His name was the CEO of General Mills. He did not panic. He did not apologize. He reminded the room that consumers were, in his words, fickle. People wanted taste. They wanted convenience, and he refused to touch the recipes. Don't talk to me about nutrition, the message was. Talk to me about taste, and taste sells. The meeting ended. Nothing changed. They went back to their factories, and they made the food more irresistible than ever. That was over 20 years ago. Today, those same recipes surround you. Most of the calories in American eats now come from these foods, ultra-processed, engineered, optimized against your own biology, and every year the equations only get sharper. So think back to the last time you said, just one more. The last time you finished the bag and felt confused. The last time you blamed yourself for having no willpower. Here is what nobody told you. You were never weak. You were sitting across the table from an industry armed with PhDs, decades of data, and your own brain chemistry. It was never a fair fight. The craving you feel is not a flaw in you. It's a feature they built. And the moment you can see the machine is the moment it starts to lose its power over you. You were never losing to yourself. Someone was on the other side.